Southern California has many different amusement and theme parks, but if you're a roller coaster enthusiast like us, more than likely two of those parks stand out. Six Flags Magic Mountain and Knott's Berry Farm, the thrill capital of the world and America's first theme park. This video is going to be all about which one of those two wins the overall battle. We're going to go over different categories. We're going to go over rides, and that's non-roller coaster rides. We're going to go over roller coasters, theming, atmosphere, operations, stuff like that, and then just give our general input about what we think about these two parks. But before we get into this video, I'd like to thank you for coming and joining us. If you're new to this channel, please consider subscribing. And while you're down there, make sure you leave a comment, give this video a thumbs up, and always, we're going to give a huge shout out to all our channel members. Greatly appreciate every one of these people. So now let's get right into this video. Maybe we can start with something like rides.
Yeah.
And when we talk about rides, we're talking about non-roller coaster rides. So that's flat rides,
dark rides, water rides, all that stuff.
So we're not going to give any sort of like grading scale or anything like that. We're just going to talk about each of these categories and talk about which one we think is the best. And then at the end, we're going to give our opinion about which park we prefer over Magic Mountain and Knott's Berry Farm. So rides, both of these parks have a good amount of rides. Magic Mountain, they have a huge drop tower, one of the biggest drop towers in the world.
Yeah.
They have a Zamperla frisbee, like pendulum ride. They got a lot of kiddie rides, stuff like that.
Yeah, always like the traditional bumper cars and all that stuff.
And then Knott's Berry Farm, they have some more carnival rides, like a scooter ride, and then
flying scooter
scrambler. And they also have some of like a couple of the better dark rides that we've seen, including Calico Mine Train, which we rode for the first time in our recent trip out there. And we were both just totally impressed out there.
Yeah, that ride was fantastic. It was way better than I thought it was going to be. Like, I really didn't know that much about it, but that ride is definitely better than, it's different, but I think it's better than any, ride at Magic Mountain, any non-coaster.
Yeah, the only thing at Magic Mountain, as far as a non-coaster that I think really stands out, is the Metropolis or the
Justice League,
Justice League ride, which is a shooting dark ride and always a lot of fun. We've been on the ones at a few different Six Flags parks, and I think Magic Mountains, tends to be the better.
Yeah, they're all slightly different. Yeah, I do think I like Magic Mountains the best.
But overall, when we were at Knott's Berry Farm, we just found ourselves doing a lot of things that weren't roller coasters.
Yeah. Now, to be fair, we had a lot more time at Knott's Berry Farm because, first of all, it was earlier in the trip, and we had all day to spend there. Magic Mountain, I think we were there for 5 hours, maybe?
Well, maybe even a little bit less than that.
Yeah, we were not there for that long because we had to fly back to Cleveland later that day, so we weren't there for quite as long. So, yeah, we did have more time to do stuff at Knott's Berry Farm, but at the same time, there's just more stuff to do at Knott's Berry Farm outside of the roller coasters.
There was nothing at Magic Mountain that was really screaming to me like, oh my God, we have to go and do this. But meanwhile, at Knott's Berry Farm, we just felt comfortable going over and getting on Scrambler and their shooting dark ride and their bumper cars. So I felt like we just did a lot more at Knott's Berry Farm, and their non-coasters, I think, are just more inviting. So I think overall the ride category is going to have to go to Knott's Berry Farm on this. Next up, we can talk about a category that I think will be very quick to talk about. We'll talk about theming. Knott's Berry Farm, as I said at the beginning of this video, they consider themselves the very first theme park in America, and that's what they are. We look at them as a theme park. Magic Mountain is an amusement park.
Absolutely. Knott's Berry Farm is, of course, a Cedar Fair park or Legacy Cedar Fair park. It is always known as the nicest as far as just looks and theming out of any Cedar Fair park. Six Flags Magic Mountain is very much a Six Flags park. There is very, very little theming. Some rides like Apocalypse do have, the queue for Apocalypse is really cool. And obviously Justice League is nice. So, they have a few things here and there. But for the most part, the theming is very non-existent at Magic Mountain.
Yeah, when you're walking around, you're not immersed in anything at all.
Yeah, I mean, there are M&M stairs at Magic Mountain. You're not going to see stuff like that at Knott's Berry Farm.
Yeah, that's some amazing candy theming. But we're not at Hershey Park, we're at Magic Mountain. So we're definitely going to have to give the theming category to Knott's Berry Farm. Kind of, I'm sure if you guys know anything about those two parks, I'm sure you guys aren't surprised by that at all.
Pretty obvious.
Next category that we'll talk about is atmosphere. Now, I guess you can kind of lump this into theming, but not totally. So we figure we would make it like completely separate from theming. But earlier I said that like some of their non-coaster rides were just inviting. I think Knott's Berry Farm overall as a park is that word, just overall kind of inviting.
Yeah.
We found ourselves kind of like sitting around a little bit more.
Yeah,
and
it's just nice there. And like you said, it's different than theming. It just, the park just looks nice. It's easy just to sit down, relax, everything. You know, you have just hang time. Like that whole area by hang time is really nice.
The boardwalk area.
Yeah, the boardwalk area. It just is very pretty there. And it's just a nice place to hang out. And you can say that about any other part of the park.
But meanwhile, over at Magic Mountain, granted, we were kind of in a hurry, but we did leave a lot earlier than we expected. We left, I think, like 2 hours earlier than what we like originally planned.
But it's not even just that we left earlier, because I mean that is true. But it's just Magic Mountain just doesn't have that. Just doesn't look super nice. I mean, the area that it's in is very beautiful because all these mountains and stuff. But the park itself it's not ugly. I mean, there's a lot of trees and stuff. But it's just not on the same level as Knott's Berry Farm.
But overall, I think we need to just give Knott's Berry Farm the atmosphere, because just from our experience, what we felt at the park. So that's already like, we're not really counting per se, but if we were counting, this would be 3-0 Knott's Berry Farm. So Magic Mountain, you have some
catching up to do.
Yeah, you have some catching up to do, and we only have a couple of categories left.
Yeah.
One of them being, let's go to something roller coasters, because everyone wants to talk about roller coasters.
We are roller coaster enthusiasts after all, so let's talk about that.
Magic Mountain has such a huge amount of roller coasters, it's hard for Knott's Berry Farm to fully compare, but Knott's Berry Farm has the best roller coaster out of the two parks.
True, yeah. Knott's Berry Farm has Ghost Rider, which, is our favorite out of the two parks, and they have Accelerator, which is great. They have Hang Time, which is fun. Silver Bullet's good. I mean, they have a lot of good coasters, and they don't have any bad coasters there, which is really nice. But it's just, you can't compare it to Magic Mountain. Magic Mountain has the most coasters of any park in the entire world at, 20, I think?
Something like that.
So, I mean, and they have rides like Twister Colossus, Tatsu, X2. They're the coaster capital of the world, I guess you can call it.
No, that's Cedar Point.
Well,
they're the thrill capital of the world.
Okay, it's all the...
Cedar Point's the coaster capital of the world.
Very big difference between those.
The Cedar Point's our home park? How do you not know that?
Well, I do know that, but they have...
plenty of roller coasters and plenty of different options to choose from. Intense, crazy rides like X2. More of like a family thrilling like West Coast Racers. They have an aero suspended coaster in Ninja. They kind of cover the whole gamut.
Unfortunately, they do have bad coasters at Magic Mountain. They have Viper, which is a terrible ride. So yeah, they do have bad coasters, which Knott's Berry Farm doesn't have. But yeah, Magic Mountain is just so many coasters where it's like you can't not give it to Magic Mountain.
Yeah, so ultimately, I think we're going to go Magic Mountain. But I think slightly... like if you're a coaster enthusiast and you're going to be out in Southern California and you have one day to go to a park and you have to choose one park.
And if you only care about roller coasters.
I don't think that you're going to be disappointed if you go to Knott's Berry Farm.
No. I mean, yeah, Magic Mountain is better, but it's really not as big of a difference as you might think.
So last but not least, we're going to go into operations. Now this is going to cover a lot of different things. So leaving it kind of like a vague, broad umbrella. First of all, Knott's Berry Farm is the only 365-day-a-year park in the new Six Flags Entertainment chain. Magic Mountain tried to do that back in like 2018, but that didn't last. So right now, Magic Mountain, in their off-season, are only open, I think, Fridays, Saturdays, Sundays, Mondays, where Knott's Berry Farm is open nonstop all year. So if you're going and you're there on a Wednesday or Thursday or something like that, then and you're talking about during the winter, during the off season, then you're looking at like having to go to something like Knott's Berry Farm. Of course, during the regular season, like summer and spring and stuff like that, then both parks are going to be open daily, just like any other park. But operations as far as the roller coasters, I think both parks kind of lack in this area. I think this is where they compare the most one train operations for a lot of rides. And
I don't think Magic Mountains are bad.
You don't think Magic Mountains were that bad?
Magic Mountains are fine. I mean, I don't know. It's obviously X2 and Tatsu are going to be slow. That's not the park's fault. That's just the type of coasters that they are. Twisted Colossus is very frustrating because obviously it's supposed to be a dueling coaster. It is not dual. It used to, but just the fact that they just don't care about dueling. So that's annoying. But other than that, I thought the operations are fine there.
Yeah, they kind of...
I mean, it was also very dead when we were there, so
True.
They're going to have one train on more stuff than, a weekend in the summer.
Yeah, that's true. I think I just kind of look at both parks, and this isn't a blanket across the board for all the ride operators, but it seems like a lot of them maybe just don't care quite as much. They're not really fully into their job, like at Magic Mountain.
I think they were at Magic Mountain.
Well, on Twisted Colossus, we saw a girl in the front row coming into the station, and she had her phone out, and the ride operators were all just like staring at her.
Well, yeah, you've seen that.
Didn't care.
Seen that a lot, and
yeah, they didn't care.
Yeah, as far as stuff like that, yeah, that you will see that a lot, and even at Knott's Berry Farm, there are a lot of people with their phones out.
Yeah, and Ghost Rider, some people had their phones out in front of us, and then people line cutting, and employees basically like were just kind of indifferent to it. But they cared a lot that I had my hat down my shirt on Accelerator. They were not happy about that.
Yeah, there's always those little...
Phones out and line jumping, that's okay. But I think all in all, neither park is absolutely terrible.
Yeah,
but I don't think either park is going to get stellar.
You're not going to talk
operations.
Yeah, neither one. I mean, like Knott's Berry Farm is very famous for like Ghost Rider running one train a lot of times, and Ghost Rider always having a super long line. So yeah, both parks. There's definitely worse operations that we've seen, but there's definitely a lot better.
I think operations might just kind of give it a toss up.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I would maybe lean Magic Mountain.
Okay.
Because Accelerator only operates with one train, which isn't that big of a deal, but Ghost Rider operates with one train a lot of times. And
though it had two trains when we were there, so that was...
Yeah, it did.
We were pleasantly surprised.
First time we were there was only one train, right?
Yep.
So
and lines were huge.
Yeah, so I would give the slight edge to Magic Mountain, but it's not too big of a difference.
All in all, my final opinion, obviously if you were counting all that, Knott's Berry Farm got the win. And overall for me, regardless of what the points or whatever said, I like Knott's Berry Farm more than Magic Mountain. I think that their best coaster, Ghost Rider, is very re-rideable. Park is inviting, like we were saying. I would just, if my home park, well, if I lived in Southern California, then both would kind of be my home parks. But if I lived out there, I would definitely see myself going to Knott's Berry Farm a lot more. I would take Knott's Berry Farm over Magic Mountain. What say you?
I agree. Yeah, Knott's Berry Farm I definitely like more. Ghost Rider is my favorite coaster out of the two. And it's, yeah, like you said, it's a lot more re-rideable than, stuff like X2 and Tatsu at Magic Mountain, which both of those rides are very intense at the point where you just can't marathon them a lot. But yeah, I think I would take Knott's Berry Farm because I think Knott's Berry Farm is probably my second favorite Cedar Fair park. Okay. I think second or third. It's between that or Kings Island. But Magic Mountain, I don't know where that would fall for Six Flags parks. But I like Magic Mountain, but Knott's Berry Farm definitely I think is a lot better.
All right, so if you're going to be in the Southern California area and you only have one day to make it to an amusement park or theme park, we would highly suggest that you choose Knott's Berry Farm to be that park that you go to.
Or if you want more credits, you can go to Magic Mountain. I mean, there's nothing wrong with going to either. We would say go to Knott's Berry Farm, though.
Yep. So that is it for this video. Thank you for coming and checking this out. And don't forget, like I said earlier, thumbs up, subscribe, comment. All those things help with the YouTube algorithm. Pushes our channel out to as many people as possible. So thank you for watching, and we'll see you guys next time right here on Beach Cliff Studios.